What's going on, everyone? Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today we're going to do a little bit more Scream 5, aka Scream 2022 theorizing. But before we do, really quickly, if you do enjoy today's video, leave me a like, let myself know, let YouTube know, leave me a like, subscribe and turn on notifications if you're really into what I'm doing here, and check down below in the description section. There's a link to my Twitter as well as my Patreon, so if you'd like to follow me or support me, that would be greatly appreciated. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. So how many Ghostface killers are going to be involved in the plot of Scream 5, Scream 2022, Scream, whatever you want to call it? So to figure this out, we have to first go back to the past. Let's kind of delve into what we've already seen. So of course, the big twist, the big plot twist in the original Scream was the fact that there's not one but two killers, which I thought was amazing, by the way. Perfectly done, because what you're doing is you're trying to create a Michael Myers, Leatherface, Jason Voorhees-esque character, but you're trying to apply them to the real world. I mean, that's kind of what Scream was. I mean, there is a person out there who is trying to make a real-life horror film. Problem was, and still is to this day, no humans are superhuman, right? So in order to create the illusion of this single killer being superhuman, being different places at the same time, always know what's going on, you have two under the mask. Big reveal at the end, works out great. Keep that in mind for later. In Scream 2, we got more of the same, which is essentially a mastermind killer and a lackey. Still two killers. Now in the third film, which was originally supposed to wrap everything up in a nice, neat little, bow and send it on its way, we got one killer for the first and only time in the history of the Scream franchise. And I think this was to kind of make it feel more personal. Roman had a lot of things that the other killers didn't to kind of even the odds. I have my own theory that Angelina was a killer the entire time, and Roman either killed her before the big reveal or faked her death so she could mosey on down the road and Roman could have his big moment with his sister. But in any event, he had the bulletproof vest. He had the wacky voice changer that could emulate other people, something to kind of even the odds. A decade later, we get Scream 4, and we go back to that original formula of two killers, one mastermind, one lackey. So up until this point in time in the Scream franchise, all we've ever seen are either two killers, a mastermind, and a lackey working for that mastermind, who they will inevitably turn on. By the way, if there's multiple killers in this film, can we not have that? Can we stop doing that in every film? Like, I love these films, but at the end of the day, I think we've seen that a little bit too much. Billy stabbing the ever-loving shit out of Stu, Mrs. Loomis shooting Mickey, Jill stabbing Charlie in the heart. And if my theory is true, Roman could have potentially even killed Angelina before the big reveal. So can we stop with turning on these? Can you work together long enough to kill everyone first? How about that? So going forward into Scream 5, Scream 2022, Scream, whatever you want to call it, going forward into this, what is the best way to go about it? Do you want to surprise the audience and go back to maybe one solo killer, which would be kind of difficult in the modern age? I mean, when Roman did it, he was taking advantage of technology that didn't exist then, and to my knowledge, doesn't exist today. And there's just so much technology now, though. And you got to see a little bit of that in Scream 4. It was at the beginning of the 2010s, but now here we are 10 years later in 2021. There's so much technology, so many things they're going to be able to toy around with. It's totally possible to have one solo killer in this film. But it's got to be done right, and it's got to be shot that way from start to finish. One of the big problems with Scream 3 that I had, which led to my theory of Angelina, is that there's no fucking way he did this by himself. There are just scenes where he would had to have teleported to get from one place to another. So I think it's possible if you do it right. And if you look out for things like that, and I'm sure they did look out for things like that in the series, the problem is that piece of shit Weinstein only wanted the one killer. Angelina gets taken out, but a lot of things don't get altered. Now we don't have to deal with that fucking asshole Weinstein anymore, but I know how movie studios can be, so always stay vigilant of that type thing. Now, do you go back to two killers again, which it'll be the fourth time every time in the franchise, sans one movie, that happened. I guess it would kind of live up to what the films have given us so far. But at the same time, I mentioned earlier about one killer turning on the other and how maybe it's gotten a little stale. Has it gotten stale to have two killers every time? So you have issues with one killer, potentially. You could potentially have issues with two killers. What about three? I think three is an interesting number. It hasn't been done yet. I've kind of ever since Scream 3 and Scream 3 and 4, my guess is that there were going to be three killers. That's yet to come to fruition. It was supposed to in Scream 2, actually. So that's an idea that was floated way back in the early part of this franchise that never happened, never took place. I think it would be interesting. I think it ups the ante just a little bit. I think it's something different that we haven't seen yet. But at a certain point in time, it does kind of take away from like the whodunit aspect of it when there's so many people. So once again, there's slight issues with that as well. But even though I did just fucking say that, what about more? Seriously, what about what we've heard since Scream 3? A cult of Ghostface. What if there is actually a cult out there of several individuals who are trying to finish up Ghostface's work, finish up Billy Loomis's work, whatever it may be? I mean, we're seeing a handful of characters come back into this one that honestly, confirmed or not for them coming back seems a little odd. I mean, I could kind of see Judy coming back, although I honestly didn't think that that character would ever see the light of day if we saw Scream 5. But I can still kind of see it. It's the most recent new character that survived. With Martha, who, you know, pretty much confirmed at this point, even though it's not, you know, in the credits or whatever, so to speak. That's another character that was a total throwaway character. She literally existed as a plot device to get Sydney that tape of Randy. So having her come back, the potential of Joel even maybe coming back, seems like maybe there is some unfinished business. Maybe there is a cult of Ghostface out there. Maybe there are several. Here's another thing I wanted to run by you as it relates to that cult thing. Even if there are just a lot of Ghostface killers, who says that they all have to be revealed in the confines of this film? Maybe just create the concept of a cult, of a following of Ghostface, and you've got sequels ready to go. As long as it makes sense, I'm fine with it. As long as it makes sense to the plot, to everything going on in the story, I think it could work. I honestly do, and I think it kind of sets you up to have multiple sequels if this one really does well, which fingers crossed it does. One of my favorite franchises. I'd love to see it go on and on and on as long as they're pumping out good, cohesive films. And up until this point, they've done that better than any other slasher franchise in history, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if I had to take a guess how many they were going to do, I'd say 2 again. But that could be because I am so accustomed to it. I gotta say, I want this film, and you know, it's easy for me to say what I want, and you know, what their vision is could be totally different. But what I would like out of this film is familiar but different. That's really what I want out of this one. I want this to feel like a Scream film, but I want them to be able to build on to what a Scream film is. So, you know, maybe there's no opening kill. Maybe a killer gets away. You know, whatever the case may be. So I'm totally down for whatever they give us, as long as it makes sense to the plot, as long as the killer or killers have a legitimate reason to be doing what they're doing, as long as there's no issues with this person being there or this person being on camera while this happened, that stuff really irks me. And the only time I've really seen it was Scream 3 and to a lesser extent maybe Scream 4, when there's kind of parts where Charlie and Jill would be both kind of indisposed at the moment, and there's shit going on with the killer. So if we can make sure to keep that in mind, do it as well as they did in the first two films, and give us something, at least in my opinion, familiar but different, I'll be fine if it's one killer, two killers, three killers, a cult of killers. As long as they give us something good, hey, I'm down for it. I'm here for it. But I got to say, I love the idea of like a cabal of Ghostface, Ghostface I don't know how the fuck you pluralize that, coming after Sydney, or I guess our new final girl here in this upcoming Scream film. And it gives you that fodder to go for a few more sequels. Until you, and I mean, you could kind of do this new one like a new trilogy, Scream 5, 6, 7. I know they're going to call them that. Which in the seventh film ends with the leader of this cult. So I don't know, just kind of bouncing around ideas, because this has been something that I really been thinking about. I spent a lot of time thinking about who the killer or killers could be, and now I'm spending some more time thinking about the number we're gonna have to begin with, so I can kind of narrow that suspect list down. But I want to know what you all think. Let me know down below in the comments. Do you think we're good with 1? Do you think this should be a personal touch? Do you think we should go with the traditional 2? Maybe up the ante to 3? Do you think we should go with the full-on cult motif that we've heard that wanted to pull off in Scream 3 that it never went down? I want to know what you all think. Let me know your thoughts down below on the number of Ghostface killers we're going to be seeing in Scream 5, Scream 2022. And yeah, also, it's the end of the video, folks. So now's the time to let me know if you like this video. Let me know. Let YouTube know. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe, turn on notifications, all that jazz. And definitely check down below in the description. There's a link to my Twitter if you'd like to follow me, as well as my Patreon if you would like to support what it is I do here at Bloody Breakdown. Be like Raoul the Great, who is a producer, not just a supporter, a producer of my content. Be like him. He's an awesome fella. So go check out the Patreon. Go check out my Twitter. Leave me some comments down below. I'm Brand from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you all next time.